This is Pre-Algebra Chapter 2.7, Decimal Operations and Equations Containing Decimals. Let's get started. As we begin to work with decimals in algebra, remember that the rules for performing operations with decimals are the same as the rules used for performing operations with integers that you learned in Chapter 1. If you start there, the rest will be relatively easy. Let's begin by adding and subtracting decimals. Find the sum of negative 2.9 and negative 6.5. So we use the rule for adding numbers with the same sign. Since both decimals are negative, the sum will be negative. First, we add the absolute values of negative 2.9 and negative 6.5, giving us 9.4. Then we know that our answer is negative because both of our decimals in the original equation have a negative sign. So our answer is negative 9.4. Let's try another. Now let's find the difference between negative 25 and 38 hundredths and negative 42 and 734 thousandths. First, we'll rewrite the difference as a sum. Negative 25 and 38 hundredths plus 42 and 734 thousandths. Remember, these two negative signs become a plus. Now we use the rule for adding numbers with different signs. So we will subtract 25.38 from 42.734, giving us an answer of 17.354. Hopefully this is fairly straightforward for you. Remember, we know that our sign is positive on our answer because our positive decimal is greater than the absolute value of our negative decimal. Therefore, our sign stays positive. All right, try some of these on your own. Complete these 3 addition and subtraction problems using decimals. In our next 4 problems, we'll multiply and divide decimals. Our first problem asks us to multiply 7/10 by 18 and 4/10. Our two numbers have different signs, therefore our product will be negative. And the answer, to be precise, is negative 12 and 88 hundredths. Our next problem asks us to multiply negative 4 and 5/10 by 9, negative 9 and 25 hundredths. We have two negative signs, therefore our answer will be positive. And our answer is 41.625, 41 and 625 thousandths. Since the sign is the same, our product is positive. In problem C, we'll divide. We have the same sign, so once again our quotient will be positive. Negative 29 and 7 hundredths divided by 1, negative 1 and 9/10 gives us an answer of 15.3. In our final example, we'll divide 16 and 83 hundredths by negative 3 and 3/10. Our quotient will be negative because we have different signs. And our quotient is negative 5.1. Now let's try some on your own. Complete these 3 division and multiplication problems with decimals on your own. When you come back, we'll start adding decimals to equations. Now let's solve for x in an equation that involves decimals. X plus 4 and 7/10 equals 3 and 5/10. We'll do this exactly the same way we simplify an equation using an integer. First, we need to isolate the x. So we're going to subtract 4.7 from this side. Whatever we do to side A, we have to do to side B. So we're going to subtract 4.7 from this side as well. Once we simplify, x equals negative 1.2. This problem asks us to use the addition property. Y minus 6 and 91 hundredths equals negative 2 and 26 hundredths. To isolate the y, we'll need to add 6.91 to each side. Once we simplify, y will equal 4.65. See, you solve these exactly as you would with integers. You just happen to be using decimals instead. Try solving these 6 equations on your own. Record your answer in your homework notebook. Now let's solve equations including decimals that involve multiplication and division. In this problem, we're multiplying by our variable, so we'll need to use division to isolate that variable. Negative 0.6m equals negative 5.1. So to isolate m, we'll first need to divide each side by negative 0.6. That'll leave m on its own, and will give us an answer of 8.5. Remember, our quotient is positive because each of our divisor and our dividend are both negative. Now let's try a multiplication problem. In this problem, n divided by negative 8 is equal to 1.75. To isolate our n, we need to multiply each side of the equation with a negative 8. The 8's cancel out, leaving us with n, and 1.75 times negative 8 gives us an answer of negative 14. Remember, our quotient is negative because we have one positive and one negative number in our multiplication problem. Now that you've watched me do a couple of problems, you try these 4 on your own. Each of these problems requires you to use multiplication or division to solve for the variable. Let's finish up with a word problem. When a chipmunk hibernates, its heart rate decreases, its body temperature drops, and the chipmunk loses weight as its stored body fat is converted to energy. When this chipmunk hibernates, its weight decreases by about 0.31 pounds. After hibernation, the chipmunk weighs about 0.35 pounds. Find the weight of the chipmunk before hibernation. If we let W represent the weight at the beginning, we'll write an equation that looks like this. Weight before hibernation minus weight loss equals weight after hibernation. So we're going to enter W minus 0.31 pounds, being the amount the chipmunk lost, equals 0.35 pounds, the weight after. To isolate our variable W, we'll need to add 0.31 pounds to each side of our equation. Giving us an answer of 0.66 pounds. So the chipmunk weighed about 0.66 pounds before hibernation. When I see you tomorrow, we'll do some more practice working with decimals. And this is the last lesson of Chapter 2. After this lesson, we'll review and prepare to test. Good luck, and have fun with these decimals.